Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for fantasy Premier League content for the 2020-21 season. My name is Dan and today I've got for you a Game Week 26 buy, sell, keep, avoid video, and it is the big double Game Week 26, the biggest double game week of all time is right now. Wow, huge game week for everyone, lots of people playing chips, different strategies going on, but the biggest question on everyone's mind is which transfers should we be making this game week. So hopefully this video is going to help you potentially avoid some transfer traps, potentially make some really nice positive moves, and yeah, really hoping this video helps you today. I know a lot of you guys do enjoy the series, so if you do want to continue to support the buy, sell, keep, avoid series, a like on the video is really appreciated, and if you're new around here, please do consider subscribing as well. But before we get into the buys, the sells, the keeps and avoids, a quick word from our sponsor today, and buy, sell, keep, avoid is of course sponsored by OneFootball. Now for those of you who don't know what OneFootball is, it's a great app / website for all things football. Now I personally use OneFootball, the mobile app, to check up lineups and scores for Premier League games that I might not necessarily be watching. I check up sort of European games that I might not necessarily be watching. Check everything out all on OneFootball just to get all the scores and the lineups and this, that and the other. Really useful like that. But there's also loads of football news, transfer rumours, stuff like that, all on the app and website as well. So all round really good just platform for football. So if you are into football, go check it out, completely free of course. So very quickly, buys are players you probably don't have but should consider bringing into your team. Sells are players you probably have but should consider removing. Keeps are players you probably have and should keep. And avoids are players that you probably don't have and should avoid. Now today, we're just going to get straight into this video because I know sometimes these videos can be quite long. I know you guys like them, but I don't know if you like them 30 minutes long. So let's try and crack on with it and go straight in with a buy. And we're going to start off with Calvert-Lewin. One of the best FPL assets of the past year, really. He's back fit, ready after his little injury break. He wasn't ready to start versus Liverpool, but he should be back to start for the double. Now, in the last few minutes against Liverpool in Game Week 25, he got that penalty assist. Now, you can say that's lucky, but DCL, he's kind of been grabbing these sorts of lucky assists all season because he's always in the right areas, the dangerous areas. So it's not really a surprise anymore that he does pick up these kind of assists. He also had one big chance in those final 20 minutes in that game as well. So including that cameo appearance, in DCL's last 5 games, the stats look pretty good. 10 shots, 8 in the box, 8 on target, 4 big chances, a very impressive 2.58 expected goals, 2 key passes, and an expected assist of 0.53. As always, he's overperforming his expected assists with 2 assists, but he's slightly underperforming his expected goals with only 2 goals. Still, 4 returns in, like 4 and a bit appearances. That's not too bad at all. So I think we can all agree that we've got some good form here. But what about the fixtures? Well, for double game week 26, Everton arguably have the best fixtures of all, right? So they've got Southampton and West Brom in the double. Now, for an attacking player, West Brom and Southampton, that's pretty class, isn't it? So I know a lot of you guys will have DCL already. I know a lot of you also would have knee-jerked DCL out of your teams in the past week or so. You do need him back. You need him in your team. He's going to do really well. He's even potentially a captain option as well if you're feeling super risky. DCL, he's just your target number 1 for Game Week 26, I think. I really think he is. My next buy is Ola Aina. Since the first buy, I guess, was kind of an obvious player, pretty highly owned anyway, DCL. I thought, let's mix it up a little bit. Let's do something a little bit different. So Fulham, they're a team I'm definitely wanting to target right now for a couple of reasons, really. So firstly, I'm talking a lot about making sure you have players who play twice in Game Week 26, but also making sure you're covered for Game Week 29. Now, Game Week 29, a lot of teams will blank, and the teams that don't blank are mostly those that only play once in Game Week 26. So you're kind of left with a choice. Do you want a player that plays twice in Game Week 26 and then blanks in Game Week 29, or do you want a player that plays once in Game Week 26 but also plays in Game Week 29? Well, there are 3 teams whereby you can have your cake and eat it too, and those teams are Spurs, Villa and Fulham. Now, most people are looking at Spurs and Villa as an answer to this solution, but I don't know about you guys, but Spurs and Villa, they're not really filling me with confidence right now. They seem to be a bit unpredictable, maybe a bit out of form. Spurs have lost, I think, 5 of their last 6 Premier League games, which is just shockingly bad. Villa's form isn't quite as bad, but they have dropped off a little bit, haven't they? So it sort of seems like they're scraping through games a little bit. And then, of course, their best player, Grealish, he's potentially out as well, which is going to take away a lot of creativity out of their team. Fulham, on the other hand, have actually kind of looks quite promising. So they've only lost 1 of their last 7 Premier League games, 4 clean sheets in this period, so that's really impressive. They're still struggling for goals a little bit, so whilst you could go for a Lookman or maybe a Maja, I'm kind of looking at their defence. So like I said, 4 clean sheets. Fulham are the 5th best team in the league for expected goals conceded per game over the past 5 game weeks. Yeah, you didn't expect Fulham to be 5th best. They're also the 5th best for clean sheets per game over the last 5. They're 5th best for least goals conceded per game. You know, they're looking really good defensively. So throw away all of your biases about Fulham being, you know, a bad defensive team. They're not a bad defensive team. So who do we pick out of their defensive players? Well, if you look at the player scores over the past few game weeks, then Iona stands out big time. 11 points versus Everton, 9 points versus Burnley, 8 points versus Sheffield United. All those 3 massive scores were in his past three matches. So although he is overperforming slightly, and we have to be real, he's not going to continue these huge scores every single game week, and he is still the best Fulham defender in terms of his attacking actions. He's sort of taking a shot per game, making a key pass per game, but with a goal and assist in the last couple, playing in this new position as a fullback, whereas perhaps before he was playing more of a centre-back kind of role, he's going to have the confidence to do the business. So really looking forward to seeing what Iona can produce. On to some sales, and we're going to start off with Danny Ings. Now, you know, now we know that Ings doesn't have a double game week in Game Week 26. I think it's okay to let him go, even if you've only just brought him in. It's a real big shame, because we literally didn't find out this information until after the Game Week 25 deadline, and for a lot of us, myself included, we were kind of hoping Ings was going to have 3 doubles in a row. It wasn't to happen. That's fine. Let's move on from that. He plays against Everton alone in Game Week 26, which I don't really know how that will go. That could kind of go either way. But what I can tell you is that the other players, the other forwards with all of these lovely doubles, are probably going to outscore Ings, aren't they? So think about Kane, Vardy, Watkins, DCL, as I mentioned earlier. All of these players are much better choices, aren't they? So the dream of Ings, kind of short-lived. Maybe Ings has scored well in Game Week 25. I'm recording this video before the Southampton-Leeds game, so I actually don't know how well Ings has done. Obviously, if Ings has the game of his life, that might actually nullify this part of the video, but at the same time, maybe you think it's kind of irrelevant, because Ings doesn't double in Game Week 26. His Game Week 27 double includes Man City, so that basically doesn't count as a double. We all know he doesn't play in Game Week 29 either, so he's not like a good option going forward down the line either. He's an expensive player. There's just a lot of reasons to take him out. He's an easy downgrade to DCL, who looks like he's going to be on for a blinding Game Week 26. Maybe you can upgrade to a doubling premium, like, you know, Kane or Vardy. That could be really nice. Or maybe by downgrading Ings, you can actually strengthen your bench. For example, if you're going for a bench boost, this could be the right time to sell for you for that reason as well. So loads of different reasons to sell. Maybe one of them applies to you, maybe it doesn't, and you actually feel like you want to keep Ings, and that's fair enough. But maybe one of those situations applies to you and you kind of think, oh, actually, yeah, maybe this is a player to move on. But basically what I would say is, don't feel bad about moving Ings on. We didn't have the information before. We thought maybe there'd be 3 double game weeks in a row. It wasn't to happen. That's fine, guys. Let's move on. If we need to move on, that's absolutely fine. My next sell is Creswell, and Creswell has kind of he's become the player on this channel that people hate me talking bad about. You can't talk bad about people's precious Creswell. He's too precious. You have to be nice to him. Honestly, guys, please don't get me the wrong way. I think Creswell's been brilliant this season. I wish I brought him. I wish I had more confidence in him. I really do. But, you know, that's not going to stop me from giving the best advice that I possibly can, in my own opinion. I do understand he's been great. I understand he's helped a lot of you guys in your teams. He's really helped you out. But as I said last week, this is just not a good time to own him at all. It's already started. 2-pointer versus Spurs. It's downhill from here. Man City in a single game week in Game Week 26. He's going to be one of the lowest scoring defenders in the entire game week. He's not going to keep a clean sheet. He's not going to get an attacking contribution. It's a 1-pointer really, guys, isn't it? You know, when you have all of these other defenders who are going to be playing twice, they're going to be getting 10-point hauls each. You've got Creswell with a 1-pointer. It doesn't look good. And then after that, it doesn't get much better either. Leeds United, then Arsenal. Tough teams. You can tell me, oh, but it's not all about the clean sheets. It's about attacking contributions too. I don't think you bring in a defender completely neglecting clean sheets. You don't bring in a defender thinking, I don't care if they get no clean sheets whatsoever as long as they get the occasional assist. You know, assists without clean sheets are like often 4-pointers, and that's assuming that City, United, Arsenal are teams where you can easily get goals and assists, and they're kind of really not anyway. So Creswell is great, but this is just not the period you want to own him for. His chances for clean sheets is going to be next to nothing over the next several games. His chances of assists, that's going to be far, far lower than it ever has been before this entire season. He's 5.8 million, so you can get a lot for that money. So take him out if you really love him. No problem with bringing him back in later. He's not going to be a staff in the next 4 game weeks. Pick up a Spurs, Villa, Fulham defender, a doubling defender, maybe even Dina. He could come good. He's going to outscore Creswell over the next couple of game weeks by a long way. And then you can bring Creswell back in if that's something you want to do. All of those players are kind of, there's some really nice, similar priced players that will definitely be outscoring Creswell. Trust me, guys. So take him out temporarily. If you really love him that much, you can bring him back in afterwards. So on to some keeps, and we'll start off with Salah. I think my general thinking this game week is that you should probably be removing single game week players and bringing in double game week players. Now, Salah is a double game week player, so those who are selling him, hopefully you're swapping him out for a double game week player, but that could be kind of a sideways move. Is there another premium player that I'd much rather have than Salah? Maybe Bruno Fernandes, but, everyone has him anyway, so I'm assuming you're not thinking of making that move. You've got De Bruyne, who, I'm not 100% convinced by this one, but, maybe I'd half understand it. Maybe you're taking maybe a -4 to swap Salah to Kane by downgrading one of your other players. This one I'm really not convinced by. Is Kane really, playing for an out-of-form Spurs team versus Fulham and Burnley, 2 of the most informed defences in the league right now? Is that really a good move? I'm not sure about that. Son is even worse. So basically, unless you're on a wild card or something, spreading the money, why take out Salah? Are these other premium options really that much better than Salah that you'd want to take out Salah? Is Salah even is he a bad option? Are you looking at this next game week, this double game week, and thinking Salah is a bad option? I don't really understand why people would be thinking that, because even if you want to ignore the fact that Salah has scored 4 goals in his last 5 games, if you want to ignore that, and fair enough if you want to ignore that, his underlying stats put Salah right up there as well. So over the past 5 game weeks, Salah is number 1 of all players in FPL in the Premier League for shots with 17 shots. He's number 2 out of all of the players for shots in the box with 14. I think only Bamford beats him on that one. He's number 1 for big chances with 6. He's number 1 for expected goals with 3.51. So given how heavily sold Salah has been this game week, you probably didn't really expect him to be topping basically every goal-scoring stat, did you? But there you go, guys. That's why you watch this series. Salah is not as bad as you think he is. He's still scoring. He's getting FPL points in most game weeks. He's doing well in other competitions too. You've got to remember that. And in my opinion, he's not a player you want to sell. And honestly, I would even consider captaining him for game week 26. I genuinely would. So overall, keep. My next keep is Ilkay Gundogan. Now, people are selling Gundogan for some reason, and I think I know why. Firstly, FPL players in general love a knee-jerk, and one blank is usually enough to convince people that a player is awful, and you absolutely must sell them. You're not going to like me saying this, guys, but Arsenal are literally one of the best defences in the league this season. I don't care if you believe me or not, and I know it goes against everything you think, all of your intuition, but it's a fact and the stats back it up. A blank from an attacking player against the defence of Arsenal is not a cause for concern. The form of Gundogan has been recently, it's just been breathtaking. He's been the best player in the entire league. One game against a pretty solid defence does not change that fact. But, okay, maybe that's not your reason to sell. Maybe it's something else. And this other reason is really frustrating to me because I'm seeing other FPL YouTubers talk about this as if it's a fact. This whole idea that Gundogan is not as appealing when KDB is in the team because apparently KDB is going to replace Gundogan or do what Gundogan's doing, or Gundogan will have to play deeper or whatever. People are saying that Gundogan is worse when KDB is in the team, but that's literally just not true. This is a myth that's kind of tricking FPL players into bad decisions, and we will not stand for this sort of nonsense on FPL, mate. So let's have a look at when KDB got injured. He got injured from game week 20 onwards. Fine. So now let's look at game week 19 and before KDB was injured, where KDB was playing every single game week, how do you think Gundogan was getting on? How do you think he was doing during Game Week 19 and before? Well, he scored in each of his 2 Game Week 19 fixtures. He scored in Game Week 17. He scored in Game Week 15. Man City didn't even play in Game Week 16, so that's twice in a row. He scored in Game Week 13 too, for a total of 5 goals in 7 games before KDB got injured. KDB was on the pitch for every single one of those 5 goals in 7 games, and during that period, Gundogan's underlying numbers, they still look great, which is what convinced me to advise you guys to bring him in Game Week 19, is because Gundogan's underlying stats already looked good. They didn't suddenly become good when KDB was out. They already were good. You know, KDB being on the pitch doesn't make Gundogan worse. They play different roles on the pitch. They play in different positions. It's arguably actually makes Gundogan better, since KDB is this creative force and Gundogan has become a finisher. He's literally only going to get more opportunities to score with the creativity of KDB on the pitch. So in case I haven't made this wonderfully obvious, though Gundo gang is still in full swing. He's still an absolute beast, and I think we should actually be excited about Gundogan with KDB on the pitch, not afraid of it. On to some avoids, and we're going to start off with Lingard. Now, as much as I would absolutely love to endorse Lingard, because he's just, I love him. He's just me as a footballer. You know, all the flashiness, he acts younger than he actually is, you know, acts more talented than he actually is. He's kind of an all fart and no poo type player. I love that kind of football player, just for the memes, just for the entertainment value, and Lingard is a quality meme pick, and he's been smashing it recently as well. But going back to all the stuff I said about Cresswell, it's just kind of not the right time to go for West Ham players, no matter how much they are smashing it. The fixtures are just so bad. They don't have any double game weeks. For this week's transfer, guys, you can't bring in a player that doesn't have a double. It's FPL suicide, particularly if you're bringing in an attacking player who plays against the god-tier defensive masters that are Man City. It's just a bad transfer, no matter who you're taking out. The time of West Ham attackers is absolutely not now, and if you're looking for a midfielder around the same price that does have a double game week 26, let me give you some suggestions here, guys. So I've got Harvey Barnes, absolutely killing it right now. Gundogan, you know, if you don't have him already. Lookman, bit of a differential there, and, you know, he plays in game week 29. Or maybe Bertrand Traore as well. Again, big differential, looking impressive in that Villa side, and Villa do play in game week 29 as well, so that could be interesting. So there's loads of good options to choose from that do have doubles, so don't choose Lordlingers right now. I'm sure we'll circle back to him later on in the season, but now's just not the time. Let's finish off with Stones as an avoid. Now, this is a bit of a weird one because I have Stones in my team. I wouldn't be prioritising selling Stones unless I was on a wild card, but I certainly wouldn't be buying him in right now, just because he's become a really kind of annoying rotation risk player now that Laporte is back. Now, I kind of get the impression that Stones is going to become this kind of player to play once every other match, and when City have 2 double game weeks in the next 3 game weeks, a player who plays every other match really means you've got a player who essentially doesn't have any double game weeks, because they will only play 1 of the 2 games in those double game weeks. Diaz is far more nailed, Cancelo is far more nailed. I would even prefer Edison right now, just because then at least you have a player who is guaranteed to start, and I just feel like when we're going into double game weeks, the priority is picking players that are most nailed on. Otherwise, the double game weeks kind of become redundant. Spend that extra bit of money on a Diaz or a Cancelo. If you can't do that, maybe just go in a different direction. I just feel like we can't guarantee Stones' game time anymore, and that's kind of a problem. So he's got to be a controversial avoid for me. So to sum it all up, the big tip of the week is to sell players who play just once during Game Week 26 and buy players who play twice in Game Week 26. That's the most simple way you can look at transfers this game week. If you're worried about not having enough players playing for Game Week 29, Spurs, Villa, Fulham are your friends. Try not to be put off by Fulham's reputation and try to pick out just players who you think are nailed who will play every game too. There's lots of fixtures. There's going to be lots of rotations. We don't want our players who are in our FPL teams to be rotated. And finally, once again, Gundogan is still the man. Don't let anyone tell you that KDB returning is going to make Gundogan worse. I really don't think that's going to be the situation at all. So there you go. Thanks for watching this video, guys. If you did enjoy it, please do leave a big thumbs up on the video. It really helps the channel, and subscribe if you're new around here. Feel free to check out OneFootball, link in the description. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, join my mini league, join my Discord server as well. All of those links are in the description too. few videos planned today. Obviously, we've got a double game week. I've got this Q&A video that, for 50,000 subscribers that I need to do at some point as well. I'm going to try and fit that in somewhere, but we're going to prioritize double game week videos this game week to try and make sure you guys have all of the information you possibly can have going into this double game week and how you're going to approach it. So, going to be a good week, going to be an interesting week. But yes, thank you so much for watching, guys, and I will see you on the next one. See you later, mates. Bye-bye.